Just want to say a few words about the various forms of abuse, the many phases of abuse that one might experience in our relationships or situations. And I want to highlight just a few today. And abuse often is thought of as something that is very obvious to us. In other words, someone might be shouting and yelling obscenities at us, and we might class that as abuse. But abuse comes in many different forms, and it can be overt and in your face, or it can be covert, where it often is not seen or recognised, even by the victim at the time. And so I want to highlight the many forms and many faces that abuse might show up in our lives. And one of these is emotional abuse, which is where our emotions are being damaged in some way. But as I say, we may not be aware of the fact that it's happening to us. And it's not that we want to go around saying that everyone is an abuser, but coming from a safe relationship training standpoint, it's useful to be aware that these issues can crop up and that we may need to do something about them in order to take care of ourselves. For instance, if we're being emotionally abused and that's affecting our self-esteem and our confidence and even our ability to get out of the situation, then if we are aware of those issues beforehand, we're more able to take the types of actions that we need to in order to safeguard our welfare and our health in future. And so emotional is just one of the various forms of abuses that can take place. Sometimes abuse can be psychological abuse, which is where someone is trying to mess with our minds through gaslighting, which is various forms of behaviours that try to affect our psyche or our sanity. So there can be various types of behaviours that try to manipulate us into thinking that we didn't see what we saw and what happened didn't happen, and various behaviours like that, to try and mess around with our thinking processes so that we become more controllable and possibly more malleable and easier to manipulate, because an abuser may try to take over control of our thinking so that we are being brainwashed, in other words. Another form of abuse might be spiritual abuse, where our spirituality is being manipulated or abused in some way, and which is of course a very important part of who we are, because we're spiritual beings, and so that's an important part of us to learn how to protect. And all these aspects of our being are important, and they're all interconnected. So it's important for us to learn how to protect all aspects of our being and to understand the various forms of abuse and how they can take place, and importantly, how they can affect our welfare. So there's lots and lots of information on the internet and in books and self-help books that we can access that information in order to protect all these aspects of our being appropriately. And then of course we have sexual abuse, which is forcing sexual acts on us, forcing us to do things sexually that we don't want to do. And there is also physical abuse, obviously, which is heard about a lot more and understood a lot more than these other forms of abuses often are. And so it's important to understand all the different levels of abuse and the many phases of abuse that we may come up against, so that we can reprogram ourselves in order to take care of ourselves and understand the various forms of abilities that we can foster in order to protect ourselves on every level from abuse and toxicity from other people. And one of those measures, of course, is important to understand how to leave safely and to be able to do so before we become affected to such an extent that we are not able to leave at all, because we could have been downtrodden and manipulated and gaslighted to such an extent that we have been weakened and unable to leave. So that's quite a good tip right there, to always have the discretion. That means the ability to be able to make appropriate choices in line with our safety and our well-being. So I hope that sheds a little bit of light on the many faces of abuse that can turn up and how they all interact with one another and potentially affect our lives. And as always, stay safe and very happy in the process. Bye-bye.